I'm willing to bet you've been here before, possibly many times, or at the very least you've seen this before. It's a pivotal moment in every Minecraft world. The Ender Dragon serves as this momentous occasion for the player. After all, it is one of the only objectives that the game tries to nudge you towards. Fighting the dragon has always felt kind of mysterious to me though. There is no why, and maybe the why isn't so important. We don't really understand or know what freeing the end actually means. Minecraft is a game that has always embraced its vagueness, letting the player interpret things however they want with the limited information that we're given. But more mysterious than anything is what you receive upon slaying the dragon. And I'm not exactly talking about the dragon egg, but more so the bedrock-lined portal that is waiting to send you home. And when you jump in, you aren't sent home immediately. Instead, you're met with something completely unexpected. You see, Minecraft is a game where you're alone. Nobody talks to you. The closest things you get to any sort of dialogue are the mumblings of villagers and their ill counterparts, or the muffled and distorted speech of the Endermen. But after you jump into that portal for the first time, you're greeted with two voices that start speaking about you. It's a very surreal moment in a game that's full of isolation. I'm talking about Minecraft's End poem. This poem has been in the game since release 1.0, and it's a part of the game that has always stuck with me. The first time I ever witnessed this as a kid, I was incredibly confused and wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. I didn't quite understand what this poem was trying to tell me, and I would see this poem a few more times throughout my life whenever I had picked up the game and coincidentally slain the dragon again. And every time, it gave me the same eerie feeling, but it felt more and more clear to me the more I saw it. And now, on a random day where this poem happened to slip into my mind again, I feel as though I understand it better than ever. So I want to go through bits of the poem and kind of give my interpretation of what the poem means, as well as some maybe potential theories. First, I'm going to read the poem in its entirety so we're all on the same page, but before I jump into that, I think it's good to also get some context about how this poem came to be. In 2011, Notch, who was the original creator of the game if you didn't know, put out a request on Twitter for someone to write him a, quote, silly, over-the-top, out-of-nowhere text for the end of the game. And this call to action was answered by novelist and poet Julian Go, who, as far as I know, wrote the poem completely off the top of his head, the words just kind of pouring out. He stated that he believes that the universe itself was the true author of the poem, and that he was just a vessel. And there was also a conflict of copyright with the poem after the game was sold to Microsoft, which eventually led to Go releasing the poem into the public domain. If you want to skip right to my interpretations, you can jump to this point in the video. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and read the poem now. I see the player you mean. Wabongus? Yes, take care, it has reached a higher level now. It can read our thoughts. That doesn't matter. It thinks we're a part of the game. I like this player. It played well. It did not give up. It is reading our thoughts as though they were words on a screen. That is how it chooses to imagine many things when it is deep in the dream of a game. Words make a wonderful interface, very flexible and less terrifying than staring at the reality behind the screen. They used to hear voices before players could read, back in the days when those who did not play called the players witches and warlocks, and players dreamt that they flew through the air on sticks powered by demons. What did this player dream? This player dreamt of sunlight and trees, of fire and water. It dreamt it created, and it dreamt it destroyed. It dreamt it hunted and was hunted. It dreamt of shelter. Ha! The original interface. 1,000,000 years old and it still works. But what true structure did this player create in the reality behind the screen? It worked with 1,000,000 others to sculpt a true world in a fold of the and created a for in the. It cannot read that thought. No, it has not yet achieved the highest level. That it must achieve in the long dream of life, not the short dream of a game. Does it know that we love it, that the universe is kind? Sometimes, through the noises of its own thoughts, it hears the universe, yes. But there are times it is sad in the long dream. It creates worlds that have no summer, and it shivers under a black sun, and it takes its sad creation for reality. To cure it of sorrow would destroy it. The sorrow is part of its own private task. We cannot interfere. Sometimes when they are deep in dreams, I want to tell them they are building true worlds in reality. Sometimes I want to tell them of their importance to the universe. Sometimes when they have not made a true connection in a while, I want to help them to speak the word they fear. It reads our thoughts. Sometimes I do not care. Sometimes I wish to tell them this world you take for truth is merely and I want to tell them they are in the they see so little of reality in their long dream. And yet they play the game. But it would be so easy to tell them too strong for this dream. To tell them how to live is to prevent them from living. I will not tell the player how to live. The player is growing restless. I will tell the player a story, but not the truth. No, a story that contains the truth safely in a cage of words, not the naked truth that can burn over any distance. Give it a body again. Yes, player, use its name. Wabongus, player of games. Good. Take a breath now. Take another. Feel air in your lungs. Let your limbs return. Yes, move your fingers. Have a body again, under gravity, in air. Respawn in the long dream. There you are. Your body touching the universe again at every point, as though you were separate things, as though we were separate things. Who are we? Once we were called the spirit of the mountain, Father Sun, Mother Moon, ancestral spirits, animal spirits, jinn, ghosts, the green man, then gods, demons, angels, poltergeists, aliens, extraterrestrials, leptons, quarks. The words change. We do not change. We are the universe. We are everything you think isn't you. You are looking at us now, through your skin and your eyes, and why does the universe touch your skin and throw light on you? To see you, player, to know you, and to be known. I shall tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a player. The player was you, Wabongus. Sometimes, it thought itself human, on the thin crust of a spitting globe of molten rock. The ball of molten rock circled a ball of blazing gas that was 330,000 times more massive than it. They were so far apart that light took 8 minutes to cross the gap. The light was information from a star, and it could burn your skin from 150 million kilometers away. Sometimes the player dreamt it was a miner, on the surface of a world that was flat and infinite. The sun was a square of white, the days were short, there was much to do, and death was a temporary inconvenience. Sometimes the player dreamt it was lost in a story. Sometimes the player dreamt it was other things, in other places. Sometimes these dreams were disturbing, sometimes very beautiful indeed. Sometimes the player woke from one dream into another, then woke from that into a third. Sometimes the player dreamt it watched words on a screen. Let's go back. The atoms of the player were scattered in the grass, in the rivers, in the air, in the ground. A woman gathered the atoms. She drank and ate and inhaled, and the woman assembled the player in her body. And the player awoke from the warm, dark world of its mother's body into the long dream. And the player was a new story, never told before, written in the letters of DNA. And the player was a new program, never run before, generated by a source code 1 billion years old. And the player was a new human, never alive before, made from nothing but milk and love. You are the player, the story, the program, the human, made from nothing but milk and love. Let's go further back. The 7 billion atoms of the player's body were created long before this game, in the heart of a star. So the player too is information from a star. And the player moves through a story which is a forest of information planted by a man called Julian on a flat, infinite world created by a man called Marcus that exists inside a small, private world created by the player who inhabits a universe created by Shush. Sometimes the player created a small, private world that was soft and warm and simple, sometimes hard and cold and complicated. Sometimes it built a model of the universe in its head, flecks of energy moving through vast, empty spaces. Sometimes it called those flecks electrons and protons. Sometimes it called them planets and stars. Sometimes it believed it was in a universe that was made of energy that was made of offs and ons, zeros and ones, lines of code, Sometimes it believed it was playing a game. Sometimes it believed it was reading words on a screen. You are the player reading words. Shush. Sometimes the player read lines of code on a screen, decoded them into words, decoded words into meaning, decoded meaning into feelings, emotions, theories, ideas, and the player started to breathe faster and deeper and realized it was alive. It was alive. Those 1,000 deaths had not been real. The player was alive. You are alive. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the sunlight that came through the shuffling leaves of summer trees. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the light that fell from the crisp night sky of winter, where a fleck of light in the corner of the player's eye might be a star 1,000,000 times as massive as the sun, boiling its planets to plasma in order to be visible for a moment to the player, walking home at the far side of the universe, suddenly smelling food, almost at the familiar door, about to dream again. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the zeros and ones, through the electricity of the world, through the scrolling words on a screen at the end of a dream. And the universe said, "I love you." And the universe said, "You have played the game well." And the universe said, "Everything you need is within you." And the universe said, "You are stronger than you know." And the universe said, "You are the daylight." And the universe said, "You are the night." And the universe said, "The darkness you fight is within you." And the universe said, "The light you seek is within you." And the universe said, "You are not alone." And the universe said, "You are not separate from every other thing." And the universe said, "You are the universe, tasting itself, talking to itself, reading its own code." And the universe said, "I love you because you are love." And the game was over, and the player woke up from the dream. And the player began a new dream, and the player dreamt again, dreamt better. And the player was the universe, and the player was love. You are the player. Wake up. Now, I can't lie. This poem, to me, is so beautiful, and it always makes me emotional every time I read through it. There has not been a single time where I've read through this poem and I haven't felt like I wanted to cry just a little bit. And I think there's a reason that it stuck with me, with that eerie yet warm feeling that I first felt as a kid, even though I was confused back then. So, from the poem itself, we can identify that the blue and green voices speaking to the player seem to be beings of a higher ascension, who are one with the universe. And they are talking about that after you've slain the dragon and you beat the game, the player has now ascended to a new level where they can hear the thoughts and the conversation of these two beings. And these beings, they seem to find it amusing that you are perceiving their message in the credits of a video game, as if there are other ways out there to get this kind of message, but this is the way that we, the player, have chosen to view it. And I also briefly want to touch on a popular fan theory that the blue and green text are meant to represent Steve and Alex. I doubt this is the case just because this poem was published before Alex was a Minecraft character, but I think it is fun to imagine still. And we see these beings refer to the game of Minecraft as a dream, and they kind of draw parallels between our experiences in Minecraft to that of the real world, both literally and more metaphorically. In a literal sense, there's the passage talking about primal things like fire, water, seeking shelter, and being hunted. Those are all things that you experience throughout Minecraft, but there are also things that primitive humans encountered as well. And in Minecraft, you've built so much. You've built so many castles and homes and structures, but what have you built in the real world? Or, so to speak, the long dream? And working with 1,000,000 others is undoubtedly referring to what humanity as a whole has created during our time on this planet. Parts of the passage are incomprehensible to us, with the being stating that we can only figure out what these redacted words actually are after we've completed the long dream of life, as opposed to the short dream of playing Minecraft. And at this point, the subject kind of changes a bit with the green voice, questioning if we, the player, understand that the universe loves us. It says we make worlds with no summer and we shiver under a black sun, which undoubtedly to me is a metaphor for the sadness and depression that we sometimes feel in our lives. The fact that we're taking our sad creation for reality, it, to me, is definitely implying the use of Minecraft as like an escape or even a coping mechanism. And the Blue Voice mentions that this sorrow is crucial for our mission as a being. Suffering is inherently part of living. The Green Voice then is venting about how it wants to tell us to do things and avoid those negative feelings, and exactly how we can build things in the long dream of life, and that it would be so easy to tell us, but the Blue Voice shuts this down by saying to tell them how to live is to prevent them from living. And I feel as though this is one of my favorite lines in the entire poem, because it enforces the idea that struggling, again, is part of existing, and the depressing times and cold feelings are just as relevant to being human as the joyful times and the warm feelings. They coexist together and cannot exist without each other. The Green Voice so badly wants to tell us the significant secret to understanding the long dream, that being our lives, but the Blue Voice warns them that we cannot be told directly. So the Green Voice chooses to tell a story instead, a story that, quote, contains the truth safely in a cage of words. These beings are leaving it up to us to interpret their conversation and their story so that we can figure out the meaning of life, basically, but they can't tell us explicitly. The voices then describe themselves as many things, and these different names all refer to all kinds of unexplainable things, and they say that the words change, but we do not change. And to me, this implies an idea that people all over the world in different time and eras and different cultures have kind of had different reasonings for various phenomena, but often we are describing the same thing. Sometimes the universe is God. Sometimes the universe is science. Sometimes the universe is luck or something unseeable. Or other times it might be mythical things like gnomes or goblins. You know what I'm saying? And the universe is who's talking to us right now. And the story that the Green Voice begins to tell us is about us, and how we sometimes imagine ourselves as a human on Earth, living our everyday lives, and other times we imagine that we are playing as a Minecrafter in a Minecraft world. But less literally, we imagine ourselves in other things. Maybe we imagine ourselves achieving our dreams and goals, or imagine ourselves facing the worst possible outcome. Or maybe it could be referring to when we consume other media and other stories. We are escaping into other dreams then. The shows you watch, the books you read, the music you listen to, all of those are other dreams within dreams that we often find ourselves escaping into, and we spend a lot of time jumping around from these different dreams and ideas that sometimes it can be easy to forget that facing reality is the most important dream of all. They see so little of reality in their long dream, and yet they play the game. And I think that yet they play the game is really trying to enforce an idea, like even though these short dreams are not reality in a sense, they are not a waste of time either. We sometimes choose to ignore the long dream in favor of shorter ones, maybe in order to feel or understand ourselves better. The poem then kind of descends into this long tangent that basically is saying the fact that we exist is something amazing and to smile at. The fact that the world has gone in such a way that the billion atoms that make up our bodies can even exist is beautiful. The very fact that we are alive and are able to read the poem at the end of Minecraft is notable. And even more notable is how we are able to decipher meaning from this poem and from other things in life as well. And with that meaning, we feel things, we think things, we realize things. We realize and then we remember we are alive. Life is sometimes about the big accomplishments or the connections you make. Sometimes it's about the things you learn or discover, and sometimes learning and discovering isn't actually a good feeling, and we can learn what to avoid or what harms us, what things amaze us and intrigue us. And sometimes life is about appreciating even the smallest things we are given or we find. It can be about appreciating another living thing, beauty in something grand and obvious, or beauty in something no one else has noticed before. All of those things are a part of being alive. And with being alive, we have everything we need to exist. We have the joy and sadness that comes and goes with every day. The biggest fears we need to face often lie inside of us, but so does the courage. And I think that all makes pretty good sense. But it gets harder to wrap your head around with the idea that you and me are the universe itself. And I think what this might mean is that we as human beings are implied to just be extensions of the grander universe as a whole, trying to understand the universe, which then kind of ties into ourselves better. The universe loves us for experiencing it. It loves us for living. However, living cannot be done always in a dream. And in this case, the dream was playing Minecraft all along. You had fun and you played the game well, but Minecraft is just that. It's a game, and it's time to wake up from the short dream of Minecraft. And when this dream is over, it's time to respawn in the long dream of life. We need to fight our battles. We need to celebrate our victories, and we need to pay attention to everything around us, just as we did in Minecraft. And if we don't do all of that, we might miss it, and thus we miss out on living. So in short, I think the poem is obviously trying to tell us to get up from our computer and go outside or go downstairs even and reconnect with the world around us. But beyond just touching grass, it wants to remind us that our existence is amazing and that we should never take the fact that we are alive for granted, and every single day is an opportunity to continue to live and understand the universe that we are a part of. And that even the brief dreams that we have in Minecraft, or your favorite book or TV show or movie or album, or the story that someone else told you verbally, they are all part of our existence, a part of living. But all of those short dreams aid in our true purpose in the long dream. That was a lot of deep thinking for me, honestly, maybe a little too much. I'm done for now. I mostly just wanted to make this video because I used to take a class about identifying philosophical ideas in literature, and I really wanted to apply what I had learned in that class into something that I really enjoy, and it was a good excuse to just also make a video. It was a lot of fun going through the poem and trying to identify meaningful things, or what kind of things in the poem might have been just nonsense, and I really enjoyed the project overall, and I also really loved looking through like other people's interpretations from the past, like I watched a few other videos about it, read through some Reddit threads, that type of thing. It was a lot of fun though, and if you enjoyed this video, that makes me so happy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.